being an IT guy, I've learned every other occupation at our campus. From welding to auto body to I've learned a little bit just by being around these people.
Not everybody knows when they're 18 years old what they want to do for the rest of their life.
Me and him came up together learning about problems that businesses would have, like roofing companies, HVAC companies, plumbing companies would have. And me and him together came up with systems and like actual AI systems that could solve these major problems, that's these big pain points that these companies could have.
Welcome to TennTalks. Today we're talking about a career field that is everywhere. In your hospital, your retail store, your factory floor, and increasingly, your future. We're talking about information technology. And if you think IT means sitting alone fixing computers, think again. IT is problem solving, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and one of the fastest growing career paths Tennessee has to offer. Today, you'll hear from a 26-year TCAT instructor who didn't find his way into IT until he was 32, a university director building brand new degree pathways for students who thought a 4-year degree wasn't possible, a 2024 high school graduate who already owns his own software company, and a governor who believes Tennessee is on the edge of a digital revolution. These are stories about second chances, growth mindsets, and what happens when you find what you love and commit to it. Let's get into it. Our first guest didn't take the straight road into IT, and he'll be the first to tell you. John Byram tried college, worked in bartending, got recruited into cell phones at Bell South, and didn't get any formal IT training until he was 32. He walked into TCAT Jackson, flew through his certifications, and never left. 26 years later, he's a master instructor teaching networking, cybersecurity, cloud, and 3D printing. His message? It's never too early and never too late. Please welcome John Byram.
I'm John Byram. I am an IIT, Information Infrastructure Technology instructor. I've made it to the highest point of I'm a Master Instructor 2. I've been there 26 years and seen a lot of things change. I grew up around, my whole family were teachers. Okay. And that was drilled into me. And there wasn't, they didn't do any really the hands-on or the mechanical stuff, but I was always interested in that. Mm-hmm. And so when I graduated high school, I moved to Memphis and was a maintenance man and learned, and I really, really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And I did that for a year, and then I said, everybody's going to college. So I tried it. I tried. My dad was a professor at Lambeth.
Okay.
And
what did you major in when you tried it at Lambeth?
I didn't really know.
Okay. So
you were just gen ed.
Get some gen eds in.
Yeah. So, I did it. I was there at Lambeth, and then I was at Jackson State, and I didn't make it. So I went into bartending, which I think it helped develop my communication skills. But ended up moving to Atlanta, and I was lucky enough to get a job with Bell South. And so I started there, and that's when I was introduced to having to put data in a computer. Yeah, it was monocolor. It was green or orange, and a mainframe. And that's all right. And from there, I was recruited out to AudioVox. When I was working with Bell South, it was pagers. Yeah. That's how. Okay, I'm showing my age here, but when I moved over to AudioVox, it was cell phones, and that's when the early '90s. That's when it was hot. Well, had a little more experience with computers, and I was recruited out of that into a startup company, which we were cell phone rentals, and they said, well, you got the job. You just got to say, do you know computers? I said, well, I don't really. And they said, do you know computers? Sure, I know computers.
You bet.
And I was.
When you're up for the job, you're like, of course I know this computer.
Yeah, so I was thrown into it, and I did. I learned a little bit basic networking. Mm-hmm. One of my first big, we worked with the Georgia World Congress Center there. One of my first trade shows that I worked at was Comdex, which is a large computer, it's 2,000 vendors there. And I'd never realized what computers could do, all the new technology coming out. So it bit me pretty hard that day that I walked in there and saw what all it could do. And I started working on computers on the side. I mean, I just started playing around with them and supporting all my friends, making a little bit of money. And I did that all the entire time. I did change into logistics for 2 years, but went back to SkyTel technology. But all that time I was working on computers and trying to learn them. But I just, there was something missing. I hadn't been around it enough. I hadn't been around an experienced person. So I moved back to Jackson and went to TCAT, Tennessee College of Applied Technology, Jackson.
What program was that when you took it?
That was CO. That was computer operations technology.
Computer operations.
Yes, and flew through the certifications, and with my management experience, they asked me to teach a night class.
Okay, and what were you teaching?
I was
Computer operations?
COT, yeah.
Okay.
I'd already got my certification.
Yes,
so.
That's right.
And did that for about a year, 9 months to a year, and then that was a night class, and then moved to the day. He went on to start a business, the day instructor. So, 25 years later, here I am.
So those teaching roots really came back. It through an interest though that you loved.
It did. It came natural. I grew up out on Lambeth campus, on Lambeth College and University, now Memphis, Lambeth campus. And I was sitting in my dad's classes and all that. So, it came pretty natural to me.
Now, obviously, technology's changed a little bit since you
Right.
started teaching. You even said you were teaching the computer operations.
Yes.
Now you're teaching IIT.
Right.
How does TCAT keep up with that certification? Like, what are they looking at to say we need to shift to these certifications? How do you? Because you guys are constantly evolving. I love to see it when it's like, oh, we're offering these programs now.
We have advisory committees. We meet with industry. We find out what they're looking for, what the trends are,
What systems they're using.
Yeah, and just help desk, the technology is going to that, and we're if we get into talking about AI, I mean that's integrated to help desk now. So
That's true. I've talked to many chatbots.
right, so industry lets us know where it's going, and then we also with the academics, we have our publishers, or we don't have a book anymore, but we keep up with them, what's trending, So about 2 years ago, I rewrote. We were at a program where we had a lot of, fluff like Excel and Word and just a little bit of web design. And really, we just want you to be a tech. That's where the money is, really, in West Tennessee. So I rewrote the curriculum, and we come in and I have you certified in OSHA,
Right.
and I can get you certified in the help desk and you're familiar with it, I'm sure, CompTIA A+.
Yes.
So that's your first term, 4 months. Some of that, some people get it real quick. I have time built in where you're a little longer.
Because that's laying the foundation. That's almost like your gen eds. Those are your IT gen eds.
Yeah, A+ has been around, and when I was around in the 90s, people were getting computer jobs not knowing what they're going to do because that certification really wasn't that well known. But in the last really 30 years, it's you gotta have a certification. Second term is networking, Network Plus, and then we go into Security Plus. Are you familiar with that? Yeah. So so I added in cloud.
Okay.
And since I wrote this curriculum, and we also do the basics of 3D printing. You can get certifications in all those. But the cloud was something I definitely had to add in. Everybody uses the cloud now. I mean, you have a cell phone, don't you? So
yeah. Well, I mean, we saw that when AWS went down for a little bit. Everyone found out just how many services were linked to that. So that was a fun day for many. I got a lot. I'm sure you did as well. I got texts. Hey, is this not working for you? Like, yeah, AWS is down.
Yeah. So and it's so funny when new students will come into class and say, you know what AWS is? And I said, you've seen it a million times. If you watch a football game or a base, it always comes up on the screen. Mm-hmm. But yes, so we use with the state, we use the Microsoft cloud, and that's good. But they're all kind of alike how you get into them and what they can do. Looking into Google also now, they have some great training programs also.
Yeah, so what are some of the fun, well, maybe I shouldn't say fun. What are some of the hands-on experiences that they get while they're learning?
Well, my classroom, we remodeled it about 6 years ago, and so my classroom is a pretty good size, and then I have a large storage area, and then I have a lab that's bigger than the classroom, and I have about 6 workbenches there, and we do everything. We take computers apart. We put new screens on laptops. Anything you can think about a computer, we're doing it.
So you're messing with hardware and software. You're making
Correct.
them well-rounded when they leave.
Yeah.
That they may not know every single bit, but they've had a little experience with it.
Correct,
there's
and that's
direction.
important. I found that I tinkered with everything when I was little. I knew how to turn a screw and all that, but sometimes, the gen ed stuff of high school, they don't go and learn that.
Right.
And I actually make them buy a small household toolkit.
Yeah.
Let's learn how to turn a screw. And so, and a wrench and all that. And I said, you're going to use this a lot in your life. And so you just learn the basics. About putting in RAM, some people are scared to make it click.
That's right.
And so, once they learn that feel for it,
Uh-huh.
are finding every screw that's in the back of a laptop. Because
I'm always scared of the strips. I think those are the things that always make me the most nervous. Is when the very thin little strips, and I'm like, I'm going to rip this.
The ribbon cables. Yeah.
Those are the first things that I'm like, just let's be very careful with
And-
that. So yeah, getting the feel for that.
Yeah, getting a
Takes
feel
a
for
little
it.
practice.
Once either they break to the sides or they pull up, and so that's one thing I've used for years is YouTube. I said, look up that model.
That's right.
And find out where the hidden screws are.
That's right.
And how to get that ribbon cable off of there.
Someone's made a video.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
somebody's made a video.
That's right. How to research it. It's half of an IT job. It's trying to find,
And that is one thing that I tell my students when they go out for interviews. A lot of interviews. Well, you know all this? And, no, but I know how to figure it out.
That's right.
So
That's right. I know how to problem solve. You guys meet with the industry to make sure that your program is up to date. How does the job market look when your students leave the classroom? What kind of jobs are they finding? What kind of earning potentials?
Well, there's a lot of help desk out there. Kirkland's has hired a lot of my students, and they actually, I think at one time they had 380 stores, and so these students would be in Jackson, and now they're kind of a hybrid. They can do from home and from their headquarters over there. So that's a good starting place. The West Tennessee Healthcare hires a lot.
Now, what are your students doing for a retail company? So
So you have the POS, the point of sale, in every store.
That's right.
And that person's not trained to get it, if it goes down, to get it back up and running.
Right.
So they have a pretty good system. I've watched them do it. Even their routers are remotely, you can remote into them and reboot the router, and they can actually go onto the computer while, so-and-so's trying to ring up a lamp, and they can't get it to ring up. These guys can go straight in the computer and do whatever they need to do to make it work.
That's really cool. So it's the national store,
Yeah.
headquarters somewhere locally in rural Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's hiring techs right out of school to be able to do that. That's pretty neat.
Yep.
That is pretty neat.
And I do have a lot that do internet service providers. That's they start out as installing, fiber to the home, broadband into the house, and they learn a lot that way. And I always tell them that 1 or 2 years, I say, you're golden. And I said, once you get that experience of be able to be at work, be able to communicate, and have those skills, your pay is going to go up a lot.
Right. Right. Yeah, especially you mentioned earlier, you may not have the skills right at the top, but learning how to manage IT is transferable, because once you learn how to problem solve, may not be a system you're familiar with, but you can apply those techniques you learned in learning other systems. Because you mentioned the fiber optics.
Right.
Your students are learning that in semester 2, right? That's
Right.
where they're
Right.
learning that
Correct.
basic networking. What is the highest certifications that you offer through your program? We've talked about semester 1, semester 2.
Security Plus,
Security Plus, and
AWS, and then we do an NC3, which is really the basics of 3D printing. I added that in because everybody's using 3D printing now,
Yeah.
especially in manufacturing. And, West Tennessee has a lot of manufacturing.
That's right.
And we're getting more and more. So
That's right. Yeah, and 3D printing, I think, is one of those things, kind of like what you mentioned with technology. We see the fidget toys,
yeah,
but they do so much more than that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
It's fascinating once you
Right.
see all of the other capabilities that it can do. I have a funny question that we ask all the others. I guess it really impacts you. Where do you see the technology going? We ask that question of other industries, like so we're literally asking, how does your industry impact other industries? But how does your industry impact your own industry? Where do you see technology going?
I tell you, you never know what's around the corner with technology. But I do see, the big, hype right now is AI.
That's right. That's right.
So I see that going. It's always fun to make a cartoon out of yourself or a little movie and all that. But AI has been around for a while. It's just been real kind of coined as the AI now. But machine learning, it's been around. Your traffic has been modified. But I do see with AI that even like say at a event or traffic, it's going to be helping us move around, and there's going to have to be text for that. People go, AI is going to put out of a job, and I say, well, no, not my industry, because I don't know if you're familiar, but south of Memphis, South Haven, I think, they're building a large data center there, and it's going to take a lot of text to be there.
Right.
They will be putting it in for AI, but they're going to have to be there to support it, direct it, and keep it going. And one thing that's grown over the years also is low voltage in the home, where you have your Ring doorbell, automatic locking doors, and this has been around for a while. But even you go into the room and you have a setting, you like the temperature to be in that room, and so I just see there's a lot. I mean, it's really just getting started.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't ever think we'd have a self-driving car like we do today.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now you can get one and tell it where to go and
Yep.
pay a small fee, which would require text the same way that it
Correct.
would, like anything else. What are some of the biggest challenges you see in the IT field right now?
It's changing, like you said. I mean, for me, having to, I thought when I learned Novell servers back in the day that it was, oh yeah, I got this down. Well, here comes server 2000, and Active Directory, and we you have to adapt and learn new things all the time. And when I have tours in my lab, I tell the students, I said, you're going to learn this and this and this, but I don't know if this is good or bad news, but you're going to continue getting certifications. You're going to continue learning. It's not over, once you get into the industry.
Right.
So
the biggest challenge is probably just
keeping up with the industry.
I mean, don't get too comfortable. It's gonna
and
be comfortable with flexibility, maybe.
Right. I mean, and like I told you, we are with the Microsoft. We use the cloud service with them, and I had to learn that.
Yep.
They kind of all clouds, but I thought it was just backing up your pictures on your phone, but we do everything. Our Active Directory now is in the cloud, and and we have to log in and get all the updates. But it makes things easier. It makes things safer, having the redundancy there. So.
Fair enough. What would you say are some of the biggest rewards being in industry?
I like learning new things. I think the industry's always changing like that. I like that. But the rewards is helping an end user when they've been struggling with it for all day, and here you come. I know you might call it like the Superman syndrome, but it's you come in and save the day,
Right.
and just and get to see a lot. Really being an IT guy, I've learned every other occupation at our campus. From welding to auto body to I've learned a little bit just by being around these people. Probably not that I wouldn't trust me as being a nurse, but I mean, but you learn a little bit. I think that's it kind of every day is a little different.
Yeah.
Something new might come up, so I think that's what a reward
That's
is.
true. I mean, you interact with every department.
I do.
'Cause they all have IT.
And when there's not someone to carry a student around and show them all the programs, they call me, and I say, I'll do it. And so,
I definitely agree with you there. I've gotten texts
HVAC,
after hours for that.
Going back, going off what we're talking about a little bit, but HVAC. I've always been really intrigued with HVAC.
Yeah.
And with the what they call a mini split now.
That's right. I've got one.
Okay. And the technology and the remote management for HVAC, they learn all that, and for a system to be able to tell you when it's not operating right,
Right.
via text,
Right.
it's it was kind of funny. I actually have a friend that's in HVAC, and he helps me, and I help him with computers. And I said, man, our main unit's not working at the house. Can you? So he did. He goes, well, I'm gonna put AI on it. I said, what? How are you gonna fix
Well,
an
now
air
you're in
conditioner? Yeah. And so he did. But he asked me my exact address. He put sensors all over the vents, sensors outside, and it totally with the so the temperature outside and the air pressure and all that, it was giving him suggestions.
Very nice.
Yeah.
We talked to a TCAT HVAC instructor, and I asked him that same question I asked you, how is technology? And he said something, and he was so confident in it. And he was like, well, I know technology won't replace us. And he's like, because we turn the wrench, we diagnose these stuff. He said, but technology is helping us so much.
Oh, yeah.
To be able to electronically monitor, to be able to set these things up. And he said, it takes out some of the guesswork and the legwork for us to be able to do this quicker, better, more efficient, And I was like, man, that's such a great, case point to be like, and this is how it can help while still,
right. The same with auto tech, they put a computer to it.
That's right.
And they have to be tied into the Wi-Fi, and they do it straight from the car. So
that's right.
So talking about the IT industry, it's everywhere.
It is everywhere.
And I think I can go ahead and answer this question. If someone doesn't think they have enough skills or they're smart enough to go into it, with IT, there's a place for everybody. And I tell my students, don't feel like you're wasting time here, because you're going to get something out of this, and you won't ever have to call another computer guy, hopefully. But whatever job, say if it's an office manager, you've got the skill, and the companies love people with IT skills. Oh. Because it's kind of it might be kind of a downfall, but you might get a raise because you can support the whole business.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. What are some of the skills that high school students could start working on now before they come to your program, before they enter any part of the IT industry? What could high schoolers be looking into?
I was thinking about that. Was the one question. I'm like, what skills? Of course, we talked about looking at YouTube videos and lessons, all that. But that might not be too.
Well, learn how to learn. It's probably a good one.
Yeah, learn how to learn. And you're probably familiar with this, but I think before you come to my class, if you just buy, if you don't have the money to buy a big gaming PC, buy a Raspberry Pi. And take a look at it.
Yes. And
then find out all the attachments and what it can do. That and by loading up the SD card with different operating systems. I think that would be something good. That's what I'd like to see at the high schools, where they all have that and piddle around with it. But
right.
the possibilities of Raspberry Pi.
Yeah,
it's $100 computer is what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The plug and play options on that are crazy.
Yeah. I actually built, and this was. A project. I bought all the Raspberry Pi, and I bought a retro arcade machine.
Yes.
So I said, y'all want to do it? It's a big learning experience. And so we loaded up, and I think I got 7,430 games on it,
All legally obtained, obviously.
Yes. Well, yeah, it does have a disclaimer when it boots up. It says this is not for resale. Enjoy, but it's
right.
not. Yeah. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, or the emulators and all that, but
absolutely.
but Raspberry Pi is amazing, just to play around with and get some skills.
Absolutely. Well, I guess in closing, I need what's one piece of advice you would give your younger self when diving into this technological career?
Well, I tell you what, I think I was before I got any training in it, I was 32. So I probably would have got into it a little bit earlier. Now if you say earlier, we're going to be dealing with DOS, but what I would say, and I kind of say this to myself or say it to anyone growing up, graduating high school, or anybody wants to, retrade, get a new trade, I would say find what you like. You can, no matter what you like, you saw my ears perk up when I said HVAC because I think it's pretty cool stuff,
Right.
But I found what I liked, and it just took me a little time. So, I younger kids, I think, or young adults, they are stuck in, just this, and this, where you go through a 4-year college, figure it out.
They only know what they're exposed to.
Look at different jobs in the area, and then find out what that job does. See if you'd like that. So,
Especially if you're interested in technology.
Right.
You mentioned earlier, it was such a great point. It's everywhere. So if you want to work with technology, you
Right.
could literally look anywhere and say, what job in technology could I get at this employer?
Right.
Like, what kind of jobs did they have, or this industry, or
and I think you mentioned you worked at a high school, and so many, I think, parents and students coming up, they look at playing games as IT, which is the really, to me, the farthest thing from it. Sure, I do like when students come to class. I say, hey, if you got the money or you get gifts, what you want, let's build a gaming PC.
Right.
And they learn a lot from that. So, but I'm not a gamer. Used to be, but not anymore. So,
now what was your game of choice?
yeah, you're really getting to my age here. It's Doom.
Yeah. No, that's a great choice. John showed us what it looks like to find your way into IT through grit and a willingness to learn, and then give that same opportunity to the next generation. Now we'll hear from someone building what comes next. Dr. Russell Deaton is the executive director of the Polytechnic at the University of Memphis, a new academic unit creating bachelor degree pathways for students who thought that door was closed. TCAT diploma, industry certifications, years of on-the-job experience. Dr. Deaton's program gives you credit for it. Please welcome Dr. Russell Deaton.
I'm Dr. Russell Deaton. I am the executive director of the Polytechnic at U of M, which is a new academic unit focused on preparing students for the workforce. And I'm also chair of engineering technology and a professor of electrical and computer engineering.
Well, I love it. Then I was going to say, if you could take it back for beginners, explain it to someone who's never heard it before. But I feel like since this is a new department, since this is all kind of new, then it's always you're talking to someone who's never heard of it before. So why don't you give us a beginner's spill of what that means?
Yeah, so the Polytechnic is a new unit created on last July, so not very long ago. And we're kind of dedicated to creating pathways to bachelor's degrees in important areas of applied technology that can lead to good jobs for our students. We are creating pathways so that for cohorts of students whose path to a bachelor's degree didn't exist other than starting from scratch.
Okay.
And so we have a new degree program called a Bachelor of Applied Science, and we can award credit for work-based learning.
Okay.
We can award, if you have a diploma or a degree in an applied technology field from a community college or a TCAT or more tech, then we will transfer that credit into our degree programs, shortening your time to degree. And then we try to add value on top of that. And these are cohorts that in the past have had to kind of start from scratch.
Okay. What have you seen from the work-based learning that people have been able to bring in?
Well, things like if you're working in a shop and maybe you're the supervisor, then we could give credit for that. If you have certain certifications, like an OSHA certification, or there's all sorts of certifications out there in welding, machining, quality control, project management, we will give credit for that towards the degree. So things like that.
Wonderful. And then what kind of training do students get once they are in your program? So what kind of subjects are they learning from there?
So we kind of build upon kind of the core knowledge they come in with. So we have three concentrations: construction management, leadership, manufacturing supervision, and information technology.
Okay.
And we're trying to get one going in applied AI, but that's down the road a little ways. But so we try to take those technical foundations and then add things like project management or information assurance or quality control, safety engineering, leadership skills, communication skills, conflict resolution skills, team building skills, things that maybe they haven't had formal education in. And so we kind of see that employers really are looking for people who can work in a team, can communicate across domains in an organization, and are ethical and know how to get along.
That's
so,
right.
So that's really what and those are things we're trying to be intentional about incorporating that type of thing into our curricula.
Okay. With the education path set, you said there's 3 different concentrations. What does the job market look like for those students that are coming out with those concentrations? Like what kind of salaries can they expect? What kind of jobs can they look at, et cetera?
So we spend a lot of time looking at that. And so, construction leadership, it might be going from, if you don't have a degree, but you're kind of managing people on site, then kind of moving up the chain, if you need a degree to move to that next level. Same in manufacturing, if you need that degree to move into supervision or management. And then in IT, there's multiple pathways. Cybersecurity is huge. We're trying to incorporate the applied AI. That's huge, leading to all sorts of new job opportunities. And so the deltas are $10,000 to $20,000 a year. All the data still says a bachelor's degree is worth it, right? Oh, if you don't have one. And so we're trying to capitalize on that, but also kind of target those skills that will kind of lead to that. Because if you're a non-traditional student coming back to school, you want to know how long it's going to take.
That's right.
And then what's the payoff at the end.
That's right.
So we're very, very focused on that. I've even used AI to kind of do a little chat bot where a student could go in and see what type of jobs they could get and what the pays would be in the local job market.
Oh, very nice. So you guys built that model and
Yeah.
I don't want to say taught the model. What is it called?
Yeah.
Or gave it a model, I guess.
Yeah, I went in, said, program me up a chat bot that hits all these data sources and these degree programs, gave them the degree programs, and it just spit it right out. So you have to be a little careful, but
That's right. That's right.
It's still a work in progress, but it was working.
You said you're working towards an applied AI. Is AI something that is being worked into the current concentration paths?
Yeah. So we at the university we have an AI for all minor, which spans the university, and so we are trying to take courses from the AI on all minor, add some of our own courses. We have an engineering technology degree program here. It's a 4-year engineering technology degree. So we have a field of study in that degree in applied AI.
Okay.
And so we're trying to use some of those courses for this new BAS degree program, but also allow concentrations in other domains. So, for example, there's a concentration in instructional leadership and technology for teachers, potentially. We're also working on a Master's of Science in Applied AI. It's early days where we build kind of a core knowledge base, and then there's concentrations in different application domains like public health, business, smart cities, language and linguistics, and I think there's room for a lot more kind of that type of thing in both of those programs.
What are some of the base classes that applied AI minor would have that would be more, I don't want to say broad, but you talk about how there's great applications that it can be applied to. What are some of the core basics for that?
So one is just basic AI literacy.
Okay.
Just what is AI? Where did it come from? Kind of a history of it. How does it work? And then I think the other is how you use the tools. It used to be called prompt engineering. That term's kind of falling out of favor. So, but in my experience, different tools are good at different things. And so we're trying to introduce students to a multitude of tools, have them actually apply them, and see the types of things they can do. So how you can effectively use the tool, assess its output, and then communicate what that is. So, and then I think to go along with that, ethics and risk mitigation is big. And then we also have in our undergraduate core project management, because again, our focus is on users of the tools, effective users of the tools, not the builders of the tools. If you want to build the tool, then computer science, computer engineering requires calculus, lots of math, very capable technical people. We don't require calculus, but it's more on application.
Okay.
In our programs. But we have a fine computer science department, good computer engineering department here, if that's something. But you're looking at 4+ year education for those degrees.
Which I think is a very important distinction between
Yes.
the builder and the user of it. Like you're
Right.
using the tools. What are some of the skill sets that you recommend high school students work on now while they're in high school that can help them to be successful in some of these programs that you offer?
Well, I would say communication is always so important. It's just like maybe foundational across the board, no matter what you want to do, being a good communicator. Two, I would say, I still think math and science are important. We don't require calculus, but these are tools that are founded on highly technical algorithms. And so the more you kind of are able to understand, I think the more effective user you will be. I still think having a little bit of programming, even if you just play around on your own, like we've talked a lot about this, and there's been some articles published that AI is the great democratization of coding.
Okay.
So
See, that brings it to everyone.
Everybody can code now, but not everybody can read and understand code.
And problem solve.
Right, and then problem solving is huge. Problem solving, which you're getting in lots of your courses at high school, science, math, even humanities and social sciences. You're solving problems. So how you go about that, how you're intentional about that, and that's what industry is looking for: is people who are able to solve complex problems and communicate the results.
So we're saying definitely make those phone calls instead of your parents. Get some practice there.
Yeah.
And then what are some of the coding languages that they could look into just to dabble in, just to say, oh, I've seen some videos, I've gotten to play with a little bit?
Well, Python is the coin of the realm. It's for
that's the golden
AI,
rule.
Data analysis, data engineering, data science. Python is it, and it's a good programming language. It's very accessible to people. It's designed to be easy to program in, and there's lots of tools out there that you can use to kind of play around with it.
So potentially some free tools as well that our high school
even
students
the free
could find.
tools of all the ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, you can code in those tools. Just ask it to write. Say you're interested in an app or a game. Can you help me program this idea for a game? And then it will do it. It will pretty much do it for you. Somebody told me the other day is that they're concerned that the AI writes perfect code, but they need people to understand what's in that code, especially from a cybersecurity point of view. There could be things embedded in that code that might not show itself in a week, a month, a year, but 2 years down the road, it's buried in there. They turn it on, and all of a sudden we got a problem. So at least being able to read the code
Translate
or understand the algorithm, which is the basis of it, and kind of what's under the hood a little bit, not at a deep technical level, but at least being able to understand what's going on there. Like, you don't need to be a mechanic to kind of understand how your internal combustion engine kind of operates,
Right.
and what might be the problem when it's not working.
Right. Well, and which I think leads us to a great question of where do you see, because you're a little closer to the heartbeat than a lot of us, where do you see the future trends going for this? I know you've mentioned how to use it how to utilize it, how to fact check it. You've also talked about, the ethics behind it. We should keep our ethics in check. Regarding any of that, where do you see the future trends going for this?
Well, first of all, I have to say that somebody said this to me, and it's true. At this very moment, all of these AI tools are as bad as they will ever be.
Okay.
They improve. Now they're better.
Right.
Now they're
right.
better. I mean, they improve continuously. So, I kind of feel like there's certain jobs out there that right now AI cannot impact, and that's those jobs that require a human to do something physical. The robots are just not there, like HVAC, electricians, plumbers. I mean, can't do there. But in a lot of the white collar jobs, it's like it's going to come down to, do you know how to use AI or you don't?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the differentiator, right? And
almost like computers.
Yeah, and
Okay.
or the internet.
Yes.
But even more impactful because it touches so much. And so I see it as, I'm an optimist. So I think two things. One is I think it's an opportunity to make people more productive, to allow people to realize their creative ideas more directly. Like I say, it's that democratization of technology.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was focused in the computer engineering grads, the computer science grads, Now anybody can write some of these programs. And so I think, there could be just a burst of creativity and enterprise and entrepreneurship that leads to more jobs, right? I don't personally see the AI tools completely supplanting human workers, even in things like office workers or programmers, because I still think you need that human in the loop for risk mitigation, for just making sure, does this make sense? For communicating that to people who maybe don't use the tools, your managers, your CEOs of your companies. So I don't see it just supplanting whole classes of people, but I do see that, the people who know how to use the tools effectively are going to be at an advantage over those that have never used them at all.
So it's very similar to, how retail has self-checkouts. We thought it would replace cashiers, but now they've taken some of the cashiers to man multiple self-checkouts instead of it being one.
Right.
So you're saying, it might make it more efficient,
Right.
But we won't probably take out the human element. Even robots in manufacturing, there's still someone to,
Right.
maintain that robot
And
to
oversee
program the
them,
code
because things break.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't particularly classify this as a bubble. You see this as being able to be utilized long term.
Oh, yeah. I
It'll
think it's,
even itself out. And
I think it's a fundamental type of technology shift, even potentially bigger than the internet.
which we view the internet now as a utility. You know,
Yeah.
it's like water, electricity. And Tennessee's made great strides in making sure everyone has access to high-speed internet.
Yeah.
It might be the same thing in 5 to 10 years. It'll
Oh, I
say
think
like
so.
it's it's going to be a part of every aspect.
Yeah, so I think it's a fundamental shift, big opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
With something like that, there's always risks involved. But
That's right. What would you say to a student who's worried about not being smart enough for some of these programs?
well, I've been a professor a long time. In some of my jobs in the past, I've overseen student success in engineering programs, which tend to be really, really difficult programs. And I've always kind of advocated for what's called a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I had a lot of kids say, well, I'm not good at math. Right. Well, what that means is maybe you haven't had enough preparation in math, or maybe you need to work harder at math, or you need to be more intentional in how you're studying math. That means a growth mindset is that the brain is like any other muscle. It gets better the more you work it.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news for me is even people my age intelligence is malleable. It changes. And so if you're willing to persist, put the time in, work hard, like in all things, you will get better. Like if you play basketball or tennis or whatever, you got to work at it to be good. Math is no different. And so I know in this college we spend a lot of times trying to talk to students about how to take tests, how to study for tests, how to study. You know, and if it's a choice. It's always a choice, right?
I like that. It's your choice to be
It's your
good at math
choice.
or not. And
But,
we'll show you the steps,
Right.
but it's going to be up
Yeah.
to you whether to take those steps to be better.
Yeah, and another thing, I've had kids to say, "Well, I'm really, really good at math, so I don't need to study."
How-
That's not good either.
How
so.
far do they fall?
Yeah, sometimes they fall pretty hard. But that's an example of a fixed mindset. I'm bad at math. I'm good at math.
Both are absolutes. You're saying
I
there's
still
room to
have
grow
work
either
at
way.
it. Yeah, I still have to work at it myself. So to learn new
Right.
things.
Are there any other opportunities that you feel like we haven't had a chance to discuss yet?
Well, I think I would share this. In my current role, I get to talk to a lot of people in local industry. There's a lot of talk here about Memphis being the digital delta, and with XAI, I think there's a big data center going across the river. I think it's no secret Google is it, and there's other data centers coming up all around. So we're really wanting this region of the country, and I include West Tennessee in this, and Eastern Arkansas, Northern Mississippi, right? That there's real potential here for like an economic boom based around this AI technology. Not only in the users, these data centers need people who know networking and HVAC and electricians. I mean, they're huge, power-hungry farms of high-power graphics processing units all networked together. So there's job opportunities there, but just all up and down the line. So like I say, I'm an optimist, and here in the Polytechnic, we're trying to plan to have educational programs that set students up to take advantage of that.
Because it's one thing to say that the market is out there.
Yeah.
But to be able to point so close to where you are and say out there is here.
Right.
Here is the name of companies
Right.
that are building, that are expanding, that are
And even it's seeping into manufacturing. And Hyungsung Heiko, which makes big transformers. I mean, they're growing their facility here in Memphis and hiring new people. And I think they're very interested in how AI can help them be more efficient. So across the board, so that not just in the IT space,
right.
but it's kind of its impact is more across the board. And in West Tennessee too, we're working with the TCATs. And community colleges. I know Southwest Tennessee Community College got a degree program in applied AI, a 2-year degree program in applied AI approved in February.
And this is something I'm assuming you guys would love to see as a pathway.
Yeah, we're trying to
you as
have
well.
that be a pathway to our 4-year degree program. I think the TCATs, we work very closely with TCAT Jackson on a lot of this, and TCAT Memphis, of course. But I think there's some. They're thinking about incorporating AI into their program. So I think there's lots of opportunities for high school students. And what I would say is that, say you want to go to TCAT and get your diploma and get a job. That's great. I mean, I'm all for that. I think it's great. We need more of that. But don't forget about us here at the University of Memphis. If someday you want to come back and get that 4-year degree and do something a little different, or start your own business.
There's opportunities at every level.
Yeah, and I think the state of Tennessee intentionally is trying to promote education from K through 12 all the way to doctorate, which we have here at the university too.
And Tennessee, I feel like, is so smart to include these pathways because I mean, you see Tennessee investing in students at those colleges, so it would make sense that it would be able to connect those all together to say there's the TCAT Community College, and for your university, you could go to all of them.
It's really exciting to see that really kind of being knitted together at the state level. So,
Absolutely. Well, in closing, what's one piece of advice you would give your younger self about pursuing a career like yours?
oh wow, really, I have no regrets. My path was kind of circuitous. I started out as an English major, as I said, and I've worked in industry. I had a wife and 2 kids. Was working, getting my master's degree. I quit, went back, got my PhD. So, I value that English degree. I think it makes me a good communicator. I still like to read poetry and literature, and so, I don't really have any regrets. I just say, I would stay, I always tell that to students, because, not everybody's linear in their path.
Like that.
Not everybody knows when they're 18 years old what they want to do for the rest of their life.
That's right.
And I certainly didn't, so just stick to it, I remember my grandfather gave me a little wooden nickel and it said, stick to it on it. And I've always kind of kept that in mind. So you just kind of have to persist and keep at it. And of course, there's things I've done that I wish I hadn't. But in terms of my career and stuff, it's been a good career.
It sounds like you've kept that growth mindset the entire time.
Yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still having fun. Like, I'll tell you the truth. I really only started using the AI tools last summer. But I've done the deep dive. I use them every day now. And
what do you think is the thing that's helped you the most? What in something that could be applied to anybody? What do you think is the best time saver it has?
It's allowed me to multitask.
Okay.
So let's say I had to write a proposal for something, and then I could use a particular tool. I could give it my writing so it could model itself on my writing style, and then I could give it a prompt, kind of lay out what I wanted to do, and I get it started. Sometimes it would take 5 minutes or so, and then I could go do something else, and then I could go back to it and check it and maybe give it some refinement, get it started again. I could go work on something else. So it's allowed me to kind of multitask, and I've had a lot of things going on. So I found that to be the biggest advantage for me. Rather than me having to spend a whole day on this particular piece of work, the way it used to be, I can now kind of be doing other things as a kind of work. And it's helped me with writing mainly, big proposals, getting data together to support the things we're trying to do here, and then communicate that out to people. So,
and then, like you mentioned earlier, having that human element to mitigate risk. It's doing some of the legwork for you, but then you get to be the person that overchecks.
And I will tell you,
everything.
sometimes it does things that I can't figure out. Well, I can't figure out why it did. Well, it actually is a probabilistic model, so there's always a probability it can do something crazy. So I always read it very closely,
right,
and check it, because it even will do things inconsistently. You ask it to do the same thing maybe for 2 different cases. It'll kind of do it differently. And so you have to be you have to check that and then be intentional with how you kind of tell it, well, you did it this way, I want you to do it exactly the same way again. And so that human in the loop
is really we know it's, I know the funniest misuse of it so far I've seen is the made up cases, where it's like law will use it, not double check it, and it'll cite casework and stuff. So there's always that human element you need of
need to double
you
check
can't
it.
Blind trust, it works from there.
Yeah, don't blind trust it.
We didn't really say anything about our rural students. Is there any of this, can any of it be done distance learning, or they have to be here on campus? Do you want to say anything about that?
Well, I think we are trying to make our programs online as much as possible. So they should be available online. We haven't gotten there yet. We might consider doing something up at Lambeth campus. I do know, if they don't want to come directly to the university, the TCATs, have satellite campuses, West Tennessee. I know all the Southwest. Well, I think we are trying to make our programs online as much as possible. So they should be available online. We haven't gotten there yet. We might consider doing something up at Lambeth campus. I do know, if they don't want to come directly to the university, the TCATs, have satellite campuses, West Tennessee. I know all the Southwest programs a lot of them are online as well. So I think those opportunities are out there.
So for our rural students, they could start with a pathway.
Yeah.
And then that way, if it's not available at a campus closer to them from the University of Memphis, they could, I don't want to say minimize their time in Memphis, but if that's the goal is, hey, I need to stay close to home, work, they could start at one of those pathways, one of those partners,
right.
And then make their way for this to be the final degree.
That's the key idea that we're trying to build those pathways. And actually going to the 2-year programs at the community college and the TCATs, you get those credentials, you can get a good job. And then you can make the decision if you want to continue.
Yeah, you kind of have an eject at every stop that you could make.
Yeah,
I like it.
And I think high school students now can enroll in TCAT programs and get started on these pathways really early. So
they can. Yeah, it is crazy to see how much you can get done, both dual enrollment, both from the community college side and the TCAT side. My own brother did TCAT during his senior year, and he was done in one semester at TCAT after he graduated,
and then,
because that was all he had left.
And they're 17, 8 years old. Maybe that's not what they want to do for the rest of their lives.
Right.
So,
and he's already went back and applied.
And we have a lot of dual enrollment programs. We're trying to grow dual enrollment. It's pretty much Shelby County for now, but just pops in my head. Maybe we should explore some high schools in West Tennessee.
With your dual enrollment programs, do you see them entering any of the classes that would be a little bit more in your field, like AI or
I think we're talking about some of the applied AI stuff, offering it out as dual enrollment.
We talked to education at ETSU. Yeah, ETSU, where they mentioned their foundations of teaching class they offer as dual enrollment. And getting into that subject area in high school, I think, is great because it's almost like a long-term job shadow. It's like, and then I guess the final closing is we need to know, do you have any tips for us beard growers to, as I work towards mine, is there any tips that I need to grow a beautiful beard like that?
Same as I get for everything. Stick to it.
Dr. Dayton showed us that the opportunity in IT is bigger and more accessible than most people realize. Now we'll hear from someone who didn't wait around to find out. He just went and built it. Chase Hamby graduated from Scott High School in 2024, has spent a year at Roane State, and is already the owner of an AI software company with 2 subsidiaries, Trinity AI and Outer Haven Advisory, building custom AI systems for businesses across industries. He's not waiting to see where AI is going. He's already there. Please welcome Chase Hamby.
My name is Chase Hamby. I went to high school at Scott High School, and now I'm the owner of an AI software company.
Very nice. Now, Scott High School means you worked with Miss Micah with the Ayers Foundation?
Yes, I did work with Miss Micah.
Very nice, very nice. And you are the owner of an AI software company. Now, before we dive into that, I have to know, what kind of education journey did you have before starting this AI company?
Well, I went to Roane State as my college of choice. I went there for 1 year. I had some really good teachers who walked me through, helped me to learn. But I would say the biggest thing about education, at least to lead to the path that I'm on now, is the ability to develop these critical thinking skills, and allows me to have this problem-solving ability so I can come in, work with business owners, and help them solve problems that they're facing on a day-to-day basis with systems.
Very nice. I've always heard that that's the hard pitch for math, right? They say if you will do this, you may not ever use this math again, but you'll at least know how to think critically, solve problems, things like that.
Exactly.
What kind of classes would you say that helped you along the way to develop those? Because, I mean, those skills are needed in every industry.
And I would say the point that you had, math. Now, when I was younger, I really did not like math. I thought that it was...
I think a lot of people agree.
And it's like, I thought that it was such a hard thing to do until I sat back and I realized that I can look at a problem and there's a set formula and a way that I can solve this problem. I had to rewire my brain so that I've taught myself, instead instead of just trying to get through school, but rather help myself actually learn what's going on, because that's developing those critical thinking skills on the back end so that when I'm older, I have the ability to, solve problems. And I think that's the major point of math, as you talked about, is the ability to develop critical thinking skills.
Absolutely. Now, I was going to ask if you've always known you wanted to explore this field, but obviously this is kind of a newer field. So, what did you want to be when you were younger?
That's a very good question. I actually was going to before I decided to take this path. When I was a senior in high school, I wanted to be an engineer, electrical engineering.
Okay.
And I will tell you the reason why is because I looked at who gets paid the most.
Okay.
That's the
What
major.
are some top salaries that we can get to?
Exactly. And it's
Okay.
like, how can I do this? And I've always been an overachiever. I was all A student in high school, in middle school as well, and then moving up into college. And I thought that I had the ability to learn whatever is necessary to learn so I can set my family up for a better future.
Mhm.
Well, when I thought of an engineering, I could learn myself, I could teach myself exactly how to be the best engineer in any field and continue to build this career as it pays so much. Well, as I was exiting the high school years, then AI kind of started to pick up. Everyone was.
Because what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2024.
2024. That's right. So yeah, in the last 3 years, 4 years, that is.
Exactly. And that's when, everyone knows what ChatGPT is. That's when this was at the bare bones level of, this can help me with my homework answers, whatever that may be.
Or make funny pictures.
Exactly. And I started to learn about how ChatGPT can be good within businesses. I was very fortunate that, well, number one, I'm younger. I'm 19 years old. So obviously I grew up around social media, right? But I was very fortunate during my social media conquest, if you will, that I met a very good guy who was really well versed in AI. And he worked directly with me. Me and him came up together learning about problems that businesses would have, like roofing companies, HVAC companies, plumbing companies would have. And me and him together came up with systems and like actual AI systems that could solve these major problems, that's these big pain points that these companies could have, right? So he has been my major developer. He has came in, built these systems out, taught me about the systems so that I can actually flourish. And whenever I talk to a business owner, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I have the ability to understand their pain that they have, and then obviously get a system built that can solve all their issues.
I think we should talk. Let's dive right into it. What is the name of your company?
It is CH Production, and the reason it's CH Production is because it's actually a parent company to two separate companies.
Gotcha.
Right. I own Trinity AI and Outer Haven Advisory.
Okay.
So Trinity AI is the major forefront of our AI company. This includes SMBs, working with SMBs and building tailored AI solutions for them. So when I say SMBs, HVAC companies, roofing companies, plumbing companies, and the major problem that you see from most of these companies is not the work, right? They're all technicians, they're experienced in their field,
right.
but they're not salesmen. Right.
Right.
They
That's
don't
right.
have, and when you think about starting a company, like if you're a plumber, you're really good at, you learned how to do it, and you're really good at actually fixing these pipes. You don't think about when you go to start a business that you need people to look at your company and actually buy from you, right? It's like, okay, how can I set up marketing systems so that people actually come and look at me? And I think it's an area we see in Scott County today that is very underdeveloped, is that these companies don't understand fully how to market themselves. All right. So what we do is we come in, we build systems that automatically are able to pick ads for you. So social media ads, right? You go on Facebook, you see an ad. When we're running ads for a company, let's say this, right? We have a system that's able to do this. It can generate images to actually make these ads. It can create the creatives. So when you have an ad, right, you need to say something. We call it a CTA, right? Call to action. So this actually is there's a psychological factor to it. Why would somebody click on your ad, right? And it needs to be posed in a way that is attractive, if you will, to somebody that's looking at it. So what we've done in the past is had systems kind of run these ads, but once we start running them, it tracks like over the week, it would track how well the ad is done, right? What's been good about the ad? What's caused people to click this so that we can continue to replicate this and create more ads for companies. And then we call this is kind of a funnel, if you will, because once somebody clicks into an ad, they get taken to a landing page or a website. So when somebody clicks into a landing page, what's the first thing they see? Fill out this form. So put your name, put your phone number, whatever this is, book an appointment so that we can have somebody come out, give you a quote. Now, this is an area that we see that most companies fail, is because instead of reaching out to people as soon as they fill out a form, they wait days.
Right.
You know, you wait like
They're
4.
working on existing customers,
Exactly.
not investing in future customers.
Exactly. So when somebody puts this form in, then their first thought is, I have a leak that I need to get solved. I filled out this form so that I can have a quote for this. I'm going to go look at competitors to see who can answer as fast as possible, because when you have a leak, you don't really think about like the company it is. You think
right.
about who can get this done fastest. So a solution to that we've created is, as soon as somebody fills out a form, something sends them a text automatically saying, hey, we can get this booked at this time. We'll have quotes coming in. Well, somebody come in and do your quotes, but it also gives them a call. Right. Now, when we talk about AI, you don't really think about AI calling, because it's like nobody wants to talk to a robot.
That's right.
Well, we're to the point where AI is almost indistinguishable from talking to a robot. It sounds like it's human, you know. And I can tell you this, and you're going to be looking at me like, well, you know, I don't believe you. And there's, you know, it's because you've never seen it. But there are platforms and softwares that we've created that actually sounds like it's human. It can understand what somebody is telling it, and then obviously has functions. So if someone says, I want to book an appointment on Tuesday at 6 p.m., it will write that down, automatically transfer that information into whatever company's software is. So like if they're using like Go High Level, whatever, CRM. So it would automatically put that on their calendar. And that's one of the major things, and we call that speed to lead.
Okay. And I'm assuming, too, that these models that call obviously have a little bit of training in the field itself. That way they understand, you know, if it's, for instance, a plumbing company that has an AI call person, they understand, leak, like, you know, it can understand the basic terms of that field. Is that right?
Exactly. And that's one of the major parts of it is training. So that's where we come in. We're having to train a language model on your company itself.
Gotcha.
That's what takes like, you know, the weeks to do it, is because it has to be trained. It has to be set up to where it will do its function. So if its entire function is just to book appointments, there's actually an entire back end process of connecting it to whatever software you're using for booking appointments. There's an entire process for making sure that it calls at the right time. So if somebody submits something, whatever that is. So there's quite a bit of complexities that goes into creating a system that only looks like it's answering phone calls.
Very interesting. What would you say, because I mean, even when you introduced yourself and you said you own an AI company, when you tell people that and you start to explain it a little bit, what would you say is the part that surprises people the most?
I would say the biggest surprise that we see is when someone actually listens to what our AI sounds like.
Gotcha.
And
when they get to test it out. And
exactly. And we do this, our major way of showing the solution is by demos. So whenever we're talking to somebody, it's like, okay, call this number. And then they talk to it, it's like, wow. We actually have a partner out of California, and what they did was, what we did was we created a demo for them. He listened to it, and he said, I actually got chills from this because how human it sounds. Right. And to me, I've worked around it. You know, I hear this all the time. It's like, well, I hear like, you know, the voice talking. It's like, okay, I can tell it's AI because how long I've been around it. But
That's
somebody that's never heard it before, you know,
a lot to be able to pick it out.
It's eye-opening, you know.
Very nice. What would you say is the most challenging part of your job so far?
The most challenging part really is getting companies to agree and take it on, right? Because sales is a very difficult thing. I've been doing sales. I'm 19 years old. I started when I was 16 years old doing sales. And it's not because we're not solving problems, right? When you come in, well, a lot of times too, owners think that they know, you know, everything about their company. They think that they have it all taken care of, which it's hard to bring that up. You got to bring that up in a specific way. But the biggest issue is not that. It's the fact that they don't know much about AI. So whenever I take a sales call, or if I'm sitting down in a meeting with a business owner, it's less about me telling how well the system works, but more so about me informing them of what AI is and exactly what it can do and what's the benefits of it. So there's just there's a knowledge gap between people now that own businesses and what AI is currently available.
And I'm sure you have to really kind of pick between of how much is too much information, what's the most important information to know, you know, because you can obviously easily overload a person
Exactly.
in a 20-minute sales call of what AI is and what AI can do.
And I felt like I was overloading you when I was originally giving that information. And that's what kind of threw me off, is because AI is such a, like when I say AI, it's such a broad term.
That's right.
There's so many solutions that you could create. So when you ask me what's the value of these systems, it's like, well, you know, I can tell you 100 different things that AI could do. What's the specific problem that we're solving? And that's where the problem solving is more of a factor than you would even think. Because whenever I come to a company, what's your biggest bottleneck that you have right now? Are you not answering your phone calls? Because sometimes these companies, they get phone calls coming in, they go to miss call, that's missed revenue, right? And when you're missing these calls, we can have a system that answers those calls. Tailored solutions are what we create, and the consulting behind that is one of the biggest parts, so that we can figure out their bottlenecks, and then a system that that would solve these problems.
Very nice. What would you say? Now I know we're still in the cusp of this industry, but what would you think career growth looks like in your industry over the next, I don't know, even 5 years?
Career growth, I'll tell you this. The earth is moving in terms of technology faster than we've probably ever seen before.
Right.
There are new softwares being created on a daily basis, and AI itself is honestly making itself better, right? I don't know if you've known anything about this, but Claude, which is a major open source LLM, they are using AI to upgrade its own AI. So we're kind of looking at a space of, this is moving so fast that we're going to have to keep up with this technology, continue to stay on top of this technology so that we can continue to be relevant, if you will, in terms of how we can help businesses. But this opportunity, I would say, is limited. And I think that in terms of career growth for me, this probably has another 5 years where we can helping businesses before AI itself will be easy enough to where anybody can just easily do it,
Gotcha.
And by that point, we're looking into building enterprise level systems.
Okay.
I didn't tell you this originally when we first talked about it, but I see my company in two separate sides.
Right.
We work with SMBs and we work with enterprise level companies. When I say enterprise, I think of factories, manufacturing companies, banks. I think of POS system companies. And this is where we come in, and we don't think about sales for them. What we do is we think about operational efficiency. What are you working on a day-to-day basis that AI can be a tool that helps you save money, that makes your job easier, if you will. And I'll give you an example for this. Some factories, we've worked with some factories, and some factories have where their inventory comes through. They obviously have, a massive warehouse, stuff they need to check over. But when you're writing down the amount of boxes, someone has to manually go through, write down these boxes, take this down, do manual counts, right? And if they count this wrong, if they have the wrong counts for it, or something goes missing, you don't know where it's at, you could be losing, these factory owners could be losing a ton of money off that if that happens on a day-to-day basis. Most factories spend around 50% of their revenue on their actual inventory and their product they have in store.
Right.
So if they're losing this or they're not keeping proper track of this, they could be losing millions of dollars per year. So
What can you do to help?
Well, I'll tell you this. What we've done, actually, and like a tailored solution that we've created is we had kind of like stickers, I would say. Like you could print this out and you put it on the box itself, so that it just says what it is. Now, we didn't have to go out and print the stickers itself, because the boxes, when you get them from a manufacturer, what it is. It already has the stickers on it. It says what it is, serial number, whatever that is. But the AI system itself can read the plain text, say, okay, this in this side of this box is X product. Right? So then it has that information. Then you just go through, scan everything, with the AI system on the background that's taking this information down and then automatically sending that information to your database, your software storage, so that now instead of having to go through manually count everything or, scan something, you have to put barcodes and everything, this system itself just automatically reads what it is and then sends that information directly to your database. And it tells you, okay, this is on this part of the warehouse. This is exactly where this is. And then weight scales to tell how much is inside of the product itself. Connect the system up, put the box on top of the weight scale. It says, okay, this part is supposed to weigh 5 pounds. There's 500 pounds on this box. It's a major amount. But that tells me that there is 100 of these parts inside this box. So now you have 100 products of this type automatically sent to your database, So, and this would tell you exactly where it is in the factory. So instead of having the manual process of going through, counting every single box, manually, now the system is just scan, put on weight scale, put on weight scale, put on weight scale. It's automatically in your database, 100% accurate.
So I love to hear it, because your AI solutions are not just, like you said, they're twofold. It's not just sales. It's literally, what can we do with AI to make your business better? What can it be to be more
Exactly.
efficient? Now, look, I hate to put you on the spot on this, and I'm not trying to get your services for free, but I would love to hear, if you just had a minute. You worked with Miss Micah with the Ayers Foundation at Scott High School. If you were meeting with Miss Micah or the Ayers Foundation and you were going to suggest something at the enterprise level of how AI could help Ayers Foundation be more efficient or do better, what are some of the ideas that come to mind that you think, because I mean, in our field, we may not think of AI first. We may think of things like sales and manufacturing, but, we are still a large company, or not a large company, we're a small company, but large enough to where we could work on our efficiencies. What are some things that come to mind when you look at education and college access programs? What are some ways that AI can help?
And when I've actually thought about schools in the past for
Yeah.
solutions, and I think about the fact that schools are having to manage like thousands of students. So what I kind of see is, and I don't know how this would fall into, if this would be able to fall into Ayers Foundation.
Well,
but
it could be education or any of it.
like
Yeah.
in education in general for schools. Now, how are you going to be managing 1,000 students at a time? Each individual student has their each individual file of what classes they've taken, how many years, what's their credits, whatever that is. And for a person to manually go through each person and to manage, the person, like their actual success, what if a system is able to see, okay, this student has this career that they want to be at, right? So these are the classes that they need to take throughout all of high school. Let's automatically get them enrolled into these in classes, and then we'll ask them permission, like, okay, this is your career. These are classes that look best for you to get to, endpoints. How does this sound? Would you agree with these classes? So now it's taking the brunt end of it off of, an administrator to go through, manage these students, but rather an AI system that understands what these students would like to become and puts them in the best possible position for it.
Yeah, because then you can input the teachers, what courses they have, how many students they can handle, and then I love that idea, because then a counselor can talk to them and go, well, it's at least a starting point.
Yeah.
Like, so even if it's not set in stone, it's done a lot of that legwork where you're negotiating from a place higher than ground level.
And
It's interesting.
And I apologize for the answer itself, because like I said, we work on a very tailored basis.
That's right.
I don't
you have to get a lot of information
I have
to
to
be able to.
For me to give any kind of information on a solution, I don't want to sell somebody they don't need, something
right.
they don't need, right? So I would like to understand, what are the problems that the Ayers Foundation has?
Where's our bottleneck?
What's the bottleneck
Yes.
that the Ayers Foundation has?
Yes.
And let us come up with like a solution for this.
That is really neat. What is some of the most, and you don't have to say the solutions, but what are some of the most random off the wall companies you've worked with that you were like, oh no, I have no clue what I could offer them, but then you end up finding something along the way where you're like, this is a perfect solution actually. What are some of your favorite client that you've run into?
Okay, I'll tell you this. We had a client that, it's kind of a funny story. This client was an e-com brand, and they came to us because they was wanting to learn about AI, and we came up with a solution. This was something that the first thing we this wasn't a normal solution that we would usually do, because this is specifically for e-com. But whenever somebody would go onto their website and click on a specific product and they left the page, but they were interested in that product, they put it to their cart, the system itself would automatically call them and say, hey, why didn't you buy this product? XYZ, this is what this product can do for you. You can go back and buy it now, offer a discount. You know what I'm saying? Get whatever it takes to get somebody to go back and check the product out. We call it an abandoned cart caller, right? So that's something new that we created specifically for them. But that's not the funny part of the story. The funny part of the story is that after we did that, 3 weeks, they generated $21,000 in revenue from this, I believe, this system. Obviously, there's other factors, marketing, whatever. I don't think they made any additional marketing other than what the system we brought on. But we kind of had a falling out because they couldn't handle the amount of people that were putting the orders on. So they got upset at us because we brought them too many clients.
Too much work. Such a great problem to have.
It's a really good problem to have.
Great problem. I've gotten that in an email before. I don't know how I would react if I got that in a phone call. I think that would work on me too. I think that would work. Well, tell me, what advice would you give a high school student who wants to do what you do?
My best advice would to be stop using AI to help you cheat through school. And no,
And that's so true. And it's coming from a guy in the field, so you know what you're talking about.
And this is a point I was really hoping I could make on this video, because the next generation is depriving themselves of the ability to develop critical thinking skills, because they are using another brain, another type of system to do all of the thinking for them.
Okay.
And this is something I believe that's going to happen within the next generation, is we're going to be deprived of people that are able to think for themselves, because now, instead of relying on your own mind and how to move yourself forward, you're relying on something else that is giving you all of the answers to do it for you. Right? If you go through school and let's say that you're in 7th grade, right? The math, I didn't think that the math was going to help me in the future. That was one of my major things. Obviously, I wasn't good as math back then. When I got into high school, I was. But if I was like, okay, I don't like this at all. Instead of me trying to figure this out, I'm just gonna have this system do it for me every single day at class. Just on your phone, just type this in. How can this solve this problem for me? Whatever, right? And then now at the end of the semester, you've learned nothing. You have a system that's learned your math for you, and you've deprived yourself of how to think this through yourself.
Right. And that's how we get answers that all look the same too. You can tell when it's written something and it's not trained on any kind of model. It's okay. Wow, yeah, that's very true. I think for my generation, they call it soft skills. It was like, oh, we're lacking soft skills. But you're right, it's that critical thinking piece that's really going to be missing if we don't stop relying on, at least for the simple things like that. Like, it needs to be used creatively, like what you're doing.
Exactly. And I'm a very problem and solution type of guy. And if I had AI when I was in school, I would not be anywhere near where I am now.
That's very insightful. Well, I have 3 rapid fire questions, if you don't mind, before we finish up. They sound like bigger questions. That's why I like to do them rapid fire. So that way it's hopefully the first thing that comes to mind. First question is, what's your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of my job, I would say that's getting to talk to new people. I get to learn so many new businesses. I get to talk to so many people about because everyone has passion about their company.
That's right.
I get to hear so many passionate people talking about how they want to scale their company, new people coming to me. And honestly, I get to network and I get to talk my phone's constantly blowing up. I just got a text right then. But because I get to talk to so many new people on a day-to-day basis, I've met so many new friends, right?
Very nice. What's the biggest lesson you've learned so far?
The biggest lesson, it's always harder than what you thought it would be.
I think that's so true. And that's very true in IT and so many other fields too. And what is the best advice that you've ever received?
The best advice I've ever received. Now, this is rapid fire, but that's something I got to sit here and think about. And
some of the most applicable. It doesn't even have to be to your job, but just something that you've heard that kind of stuck with you. I'm going to have to paraphrase it because I don't obviously remember the exact quote. But you underestimate how much you can get done within a year, but you overestimate how much you can get done within a month, right? And what this means is that you may think that you have the capability to get this done as fast as possible. You get into something completely new. You're like, well, I can work as hard as I possibly can. By the end of this month, I'm going to be a millionaire. Right.
No. You know what I'm saying? It's like you could work as hard as you possibly can, but you're still you're still on stepping stones. It's this step, then this step, it's this, and then this step, baby steps, right? But don't underestimate yourself, because after putting the work in and actually staying consistent with something, within that next year, you're going to be an entirely different person. You're going to be making more money than you originally was, and you're going to be having that self-development of, I put this in perspective of a business owner because I'm a business owner, but you're going to be a business owner. You're going to have so many people coming towards you. You're going to have so many new people you've talked to, and you're going to be living a better life.
Right, you're worth the investment. Very nice.
I've always believed to invest in yourself.
It's a solid piece of advice. Well, Chase, I appreciate you coming in today. Have a great rest of the day.
Hey, I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much.
What a conversation. From a master instructor who didn't find his way into IT until he was 32, to a university director tearing down the barriers between a TCAT diploma and a 4-year degree, to a 2024 high school graduate who already owns his own AI software company, today's guest proved there is no single road into this field, and that's exactly what makes it exciting. John showed us it's never too late to find what you love and commit to it. Dr. Deaton reminded us that the brain is a muscle. The more you work it, the stronger it gets. And Chase proved that if you develop the ability to think for yourself and solve real problems, there's no ceiling on what you can build. If you're a student wondering whether IT is for you, whether you think you're not technical enough, not smart enough, or just not sure where to start, today's guest, we're talking directly to you. The IT field is growing, it's hiring, and it needs people from every background and every zip code. Stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to take that first step. Thank you to our guests for sharing your time and your stories, and thank you for listening to TennTalks. See you in the next one. Tennessee.